Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sideline Shenanigans podcast. Today with Jacob Magadan.
Joey Simmons.
Hoppy Cantrell, glad God brought me here with y'all today.
Heck yeah. And Julio or Brendan.
There you go. It's the new. He's the new on the pod today, but he's been here before. Bringing him in for some draft season, maybe sticking with us for a little bit. And of course, we're looking to get Jay Mitch back next week, maybe, hopefully, get the crew rolling again to what we started with when we started this thing going. But again, open it up today. The Titans picking at one. No trades today at all, but it is our first two-round mock, so that's what we're really excited about. A lot of guys that we haven't talked about down the board because some of those dudes that have slipped into the second round, or even some guys that were maybe a third, fourth round guy that the combine really helped out, or their pro day that's coming up soon could help out, and even that Senior Bowl that was very important for a lot of the older college players that performed well there could definitely boost their draft stock a little bit. But I'll be starting us off, of course, with the Titans. And today I'm going to switch it up a little bit. I'm going to go the quarterback route because we have went the Abdul Carter route a lot. I'm going to go Cam Ward at number one. I feel like the Titans have set themselves up in a place where they could go quarterback at one because of the offensive line that they've created in Tennessee. It's arguably the best offensive line we've had since we had a healthy Tannehill in 2019. Biggest issue on this football team was that offensive line last year. It was abysmal on the right side. We had probably I think he's the worst right tackle in football last year, and Nicholas Petit-Frere. And then we tried other guys at that position, and they were also unsuccessful. We gave up 12 sacks with just Petit-Frere, and he didn't even play but like half the games. So he was really, really bad. And then, of course, our right guard, Dylan Radunz, also a free agent, not bringing him back, went out and added a big-time free agent right guard. Just kind of a placeholder, not an older guy that will be here for a year, Kevin Zeitler. But again, I love the situation that if you want to bring a quarterback in, he can be protected because the left side, it seems short up. Now you're moving J.C. Latham back to that right tackle position where he was very comfortable at Alabama. He performed well at left tackle for a rookie. He was on the all-rookie team through PFF. And you move him over to right tackle, he's only going to get better. That's, again, the position he's the most comfortable at. He can be more of a run blocking, mauling type of right tackle at that position. Love Latham over there at that spot. And again, I just think the Titans are set up to go quarterback now if they want to in this draft. And then leading into number two here, a lot of options for the Browns. This is a team that was able to retain Myles Garrett, who we all thought they were going to lose. And they stood their ground. They said, we're not trading him, and then gave him the most money we've ever seen a defensive player get in NFL history. I'm going to add to the other edge and bring in Abdul Carter. This is a team that if they had Abdul Carter on one edge and Myles Garrett on the other, nobody wants to face that football team. That is two of what can be the deadliest pass duo in the entire NFL. I mean, they're going to get after quarterbacks. If those guys are getting after your quarterback, you better have a good offensive line because if you don't, they're going to wreak havoc in the backfield. I love adding that piece for the Browns. And again, that can make them a contender immediately if they can, figure out this quarterback situation, maybe through the later rounds or maybe adding another quarterback late. I mean, we still got Aaron Rodgers still out there, Russell Wilson still out there. So there's some guys that can win you football games that if they come in with this Browns team, if they can add Abdul, man, that's a deadly defense.
Yeah, here at number three, I got the Giants, my favorite team. And finally, I get to do it. Get to go away from Shedeur Sanders, get to go away from Cam Ward. We don't trade up for the number one overall pick, which there's been rumors that we're going to stray away from, which I'd be happy to do. And we're going to go out and select my favorite, well, not my favorite player in the draft, but the guy I think will be the best in the draft, Travis Hunter. He's that guy, two-way guy. You can see we need a cornerback. We also need a receiver, and it also depends on who we get at QB. The Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes still out there. He wants the Vikings. The Vikings are kind of amicable about him, so we don't know yet. But if he comes to us or Russell Wilson, I'd be happy. Get him another playmaker offensively, even though he probably won't play every single offensive snap. But then add a big-time DB to add alongside Deonte Banks, who had kind of a disappointing second year, but he had a promising rookie season. So get him alongside him, shore up that defensive side, which we really need help in our secondary. But I'm happy that we got Javon Holland in free agency. That really helps the safeties. But yeah, I'm super happy to get Travis Hunter. He's the guy I want more than anybody in the draft at 3. I think trading up is kind of counterproductive in my opinion. But yeah, getting Travis Hunter here.
All right, glad to be back here. I'm taking number 4 with the Patriots, and every single week after week, we've seen this team in our mock drafts take Will Campbell, and I do think they're going to stick with the O-line, but just to give a different look this time, I'm going to go with the second option in Ahmad Mimbu. I do think this team will take Will Campbell, but if they don't take Campbell, I think that's their second option, so I'm going to go with that here today.
Yeah, and I love Mimbu for them. Like I said multiple times, you watch that combine performance. He looked like the most explosive prospect as a tackle. He also can probably stick at tackle. And there's been some rumors that maybe Will Campbell shifts down and plays some guard. And I think that again the Patriots need a lot on that offensive line. It's not very good. Will Campbell's a guy that can come in and plug and play at guard, plug and play at tackle. Whatever you want him to do, he can do it. Again, Mimbu to me is more of that tackle guy, and they just have to protect the franchise quarterback in Drake May. If he goes down with injuries, again, you just can't have that early in his career because that can just change his entire career. And again, I think it's the best
Definitely.
move to protect the franchise guy, keep him safe throughout the beginning of his career. I'll be picking here at number 5 with the Jaguars, a team that, again, is one of my division rivals. So I hate that they're going to add a guy on the interior of the defensive line in Mason Graham. Again, a guy that I believe is the last blue chip prospect. I've said this a million times. It's Abdul, it's Hunter, it's Mason Graham. To me, that's the three guys that are real game-changing type players that will make a difference. It could potentially be top 5 guys at the position that they play. Again, they add that. They desperately need it. They can really just use some help all over the defensive line besides Trayvon Walker. You bring in him, he's a big-time difference maker on the interior.
I'm picking here at 6, and I'm gonna take Ashton Genty because they haven't addressed the running back room.
Yeah, and I like Ashton Jeanty here at 6. I think, again, we're talking about blue chip prospects. I think Ashton Jeanty could be put in that conversation. Again, it's a running back that you don't have to pay as much as if you went into the free agent market. Also, the likelihood of drafting running backs now for teams has gotten way better because they don't prefer to sign older guys. Now, we've seen success from some older guys here recently. Again, Saquon and Derrick Henry, both free agent additions that performed at a very high level. And we've seen other free agent running backs actually do pretty well. I honestly think what's about to happen is the return of the running back, in my personal opinion. This is a draft where Mel Kiper has 32 running backs, draftable grades, which means he believes there is enough running backs in this draft to cover every single NFL team with a starting caliber running back. So that's how good this class is. And Ashton Jeanty is that much better than the rest of them. So again, that tells you the story of how good of a player he is. And I, again, just think that that's a super valuable pick for a team that I think can immediately contend. Again, Geno Smith is a phenomenal football player, and he is very underrated for what he does. He's going to have a weapon in Ashton Jeanty. And again, if they can maybe make some additions elsewhere, it can be a really good football team. And I know, Hoppy, you love Brock Bowers. They've got that guy down there too. So it's just a good room with some weapons for Geno. You add another one in Ashton Jeanty.
Yeah, I'll be taking number 7 here with the Jets. And I think there's a multitude of ways they could go here. I'm seeing Will Campbell fall further than I've seen him fall so far, and they can use some O-line help. But I just think it makes too much sense with them going out and getting their quarterback in Fields to pass on the quarterback, pass on the O-lineman, and replace Devontae Adams. I'm going with McMillan. Wilson has already talked about him maybe not wanting to be there long term. So I think it just makes too much sense to try to get another weapon out there.
Yeah, and if he does stick around, if Wilson is able to stick around, it only helps Justin Fields to add another receiver like Tyrone McMillan. He would have Garrett Wilson and McMillan on both sides, and that gives him the ability to succeed immediately. And yes, the offensive line is weak, and so they might need to address that other ways, maybe via trade, maybe via signing one of these free agents that's left. Again, the tackle market was rather weak this year, so there really isn't a tackle to add. The best one did go to the Titans, and I don't think he's all that great. I just think he's a solid offensive tackle. So that's just the market that they had. So it's impossible for the Jets really to add any depth at that position. But again, if you add the receiver, it definitely helps the quarterback.
Yeah, I have number 8 here with the Panthers. I'm looking at a few different positions here. Obviously, you see the receiver, edge, DB. I don't think there's a receiver worth taking here at 8. I could see somebody maybe reaching for a Luther Burden or Matthew Golden after his amazing combine. But I'm not going to take that here. Even edge with Mike Green down the board. You got Texas A&M guy Shamar Stewart, and we've had him being slotted here a few times. But I'm actually going to go Jahdae Barron after the fantastic combine that he had and also winning the Best DB award over Travis Hunter. I don't even think Travis Hunter was considered among the Best DB award, but I believe he won Best Defensive Player, right?
Yeah, he did.
So, I mean, I think that's kind of ironic. But I think you could definitely see a jump here with him, obviously, and pairing him up with J.C. Horn, who was phenomenal this season. He's been phenomenal over the past few years. He's been in the league, obviously. And, yeah, that'd be a deadly DB duo.
Yeah, and you look at a guy like Jahdae Barron, who, again, like you said, won the Thorpe Award, and Travis Hunter's not even considered for it. So, I mean, there is something to say about that. there's also something to say about Jade. He's obviously very, very talented, and it adds help in the cornerback room for a team that needs defensive help. And again, you put him across from a DB that just got paid. You're bringing in a guy that you don't have to pay the big time money for a little while, so you can keep one side can be real short up with a talented guy for a little bit cheaper than what you're paying JC on the other end. Here at 9 with the Saints, again, this is a team that they need running back help because we think Kamara probably towards the end of his career there's rumors he may get cut, which would be wild because Kamara coming off a pretty good start to the season, again, fell short of 1,000 yards. Still hasn't reached that a single time in his career, which is really unbelievable because if you think about how many times he's been a good running back, he can't breach 1,000 yards. For some reason, that's just like that number he can't get to. He's getting older. It's just going to keep getting worse, in my personal opinion. But I'm going to stay away from running back. I just think where it is so deep, they can get one later. And actually, a move that we haven't made at all, I'm going to go tight end here with Tyler Warren. Now, again, they did add back a guy like Jawan Johnson. And again, I just think that the guy there in Jawan is, yes, talented. But again, it allows them to do more things with Taysom. They can do some more stuff in the backfield with him. And again, I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback next year, but there's some weird things they could do with Taysom and Rattler, maybe mix it up a little bit. And again, Taysom's getting paid the kind of money he is getting paid. You could run quarterback reps out of Taysom Hill, which is unbelievable because, again, that's just not a great situation to be in. But I think Tyler Warren just adds you a weapon that's unbelievable. And again, we're trying to do some different things here. We've made the Tyler Warren boring pick quite a few times. Why not send him somewhere where he can be the star player and potentially be the go-to weapon on their offense? And then again, picking here at number 10, I'm going to do something a little bit crazy today. I am going to go with the running back really high. Again, if Ashton Jeanty is gone, we know that this is a guy that loves to coach running backs. Ben Johnson had a ton of success with running backs in that Lions offense. He goes out and adds an absolutely dynamic running back in Omarion Hampton, who has unbelievable pass catching ability. He also is very, very good with his contact balance. Much like Jeanty, he's able to stay up and not go down due to normal tackles. You know, it really takes a lot to get Omarion Hampton down. You bring in a weapon for Caleb Williams in that backfield, as well as this offensive line that's really been reworked through free agency. We might be able to see this Bears team succeed in this upcoming season, unlike last year.
I'm picking here at 11 with the 49ers, and I'm going to go with Will Campbell because Trent Williams is getting old. He's still, he's every year he's one of the best tackles in football, and he's going to be not a first ballot, but he's going to be a Hall of Famer. But Will Campbell can play tackle or guard. That's what they need too.
Yeah, and again, Will Campbell, a guy that we've seen go as high as 4. We've seen the Patriots trade back in our other mock and pick him at 7. So again, Will Campbell falls out of the top 10. It feels like a guy that can be very, very good for a team that needs guard and tackle. And again, even if you're not losing the big-time stud that you already have, he can play opposite of him for a little while and then maybe move over to left tackle when we lose our guy, or you can, again, play him at guard. I think that's potentially where he ends up at the NFL. A very explosive player, which is obviously good for a guard because they can get out there, pull, make big-time blocks in that part of the game, and it just helps to be a little bit more dynamic at the guard position with your speed and whatnot.
Yeah, I agree with everything y'all just said, and a guy I would have loved to pick at number 12 with the Cowboys, but since Julio just took him from me, thanks, Julio. I think I'll go here and try to get the Cowboys some defensive help, and I'll take the guy I think has the most potential left in the draft, and it's not James Pierce Jr., Shamar Stewart. I think that guy is going to be an absolute stud in the NFL. This Cowboys offense looked bad last year, but if you go back and since Dak has been on this team, they've had a good offensive year, a bad offensive year. So I think the Cowboys can bounce back, even taking a defensive player here. So I pick Shamar.
Yeah, and I love that pick. Again, Shamar Stewart is one of my favorite players in this draft. I think he has some of the highest potential in the draft. The combine talent is unbelievable. I mean, just seeing a guy at his size do what he did, it just, to me, boosts his draft stock a ton. And I think the thing that hurts him is production. Again, we've talked about that, the lack of production. But again, if you go back and watch the Texas A&M games or tape of him alone playing, he's wrecking havoc on plays and just not getting the stat. So he was creating things for his other teammates, letting them make plays. And he did have a couple sacks here and there and some TFLs. But again, I just think he's a freak talent, and the Cowboys can definitely use that on their defense. At 13 here with the Dolphins, we made a little bit different pick last time, saying let's not go offensive line. This time I'm coming back to the offensive line. I just think it's way too important that they go offensive line. You're talking about a team that had an injured quarterback in almost every year of his career so far. He has had some success when on the field. It's just really hard for him to stay on the field. And some of what he's done is he's done it to himself. He doesn't slide, and I hate that because again, this is a guy that's now on his fifth concussion. That is to the point where it's severe and serious. Whereas if he has another one, it could literally change his life. So again, protect the quarterback. It is the most important position on the field, and you just paid him. So go out and get a lineman that can help him. I'm going Kelvin Banks Jr. from Texas. Again, a guy I think can play guard in the NFL or tackle, depending on what they need him to do. Guard may be more likely. But again, their interior offensive line is worse than the exterior, and it's really, really bad at guard. So you go out and grab Kelvin Banks, who is projected to move down inside and just shore up the offensive line for Tua.
I'll be having the 14th pick with the Colts, and I'm going to go with Jahad Campbell because he is one of the most like athletic linebackers in this class, and he's just an overall stud.
Yeah, I mean, it's the most true middle linebacker that can stick and play at that position in the first round available. And there's some guys down the board like a Carson Schlesinger from UCLA that he could end up going maybe back into the first round, but no way he goes this high. I like Jahad as a player. Again, we've had him go at completely different positions in the draft, literally from 11 to 32. The ability to play the linebacker position, again, it's literally the only guy that's worth a first round pick. And he can play some edge. Again, that is possibly a need for the Colts. But I think he sticks and plays at the linebacker position. He's too valuable there.
I have pick 15 here for the Falcons. I was going to take Jahad Campbell because he's wreaked havoc in Mercedes-Benz Stadiums quite a few times for the Alabama Crimson Tide, but going to have to pivot here. I'm going to go Mykel Williams. I think he's a stud. I think he's an athletic freak as well. Gets to stay in the Georgia area. And yeah, I think it'll be great for the Falcons, slide in there at the edge.
Yeah, and again, this is a team that needs that defensive help. Of course, they've had issues with getting to the quarterback. They just had overall issues on the defensive side. But another thing with this team is Terry Fontenot actually hasn't drafted Georgia players. So again, this is the team that can just go next door and watch their football team play and draft these guys because they've had unbelievable success in the NFL. A lot of these Georgia guys are just ridiculous talents. And I mean, it shows by the way that they get these recruits. These guys are always high-rated guys. They're expected to perform at that level, and they show up in the NFL and they do it. I think that the Falcons maybe wisen up a little bit, go with one of those edge rushers from Georgia to give a little depth in that part of their game, which is probably the weakest department on that team. And then here at number 16 with the Cardinals, again, this has been Hoppy's favorite pick for a while, going with Josh Simmons here, but I'm actually going to shift it up just a little bit. I'm going to go on the other side of the ball and go in the trenches and go interior defensive lineman. I think that that's definitely another position they could certainly pick here. And again, we've done the tackle pick a lot. Protecting Kyler is important, but to change up things, I'm actually going to go a little bit higher than I have with Kenneth Grant here. 16. Again, the D linemen are interesting in this draft. We had Walter Nolan originally being one of our top guys. He's now started to fall down a little bit with, Derek Harmon rising up, Kenneth Grant rising up, and even Darius Alexander from Toledo rising up boards. So it'll be interesting to see what D lineman goes first because I think they all have really high potential and ability. And again, we've already got Mason Graham off the board. None of these guys are on that level. It's just which one goes first after Graham.
I'll be picking here number 17 with the Bengals, and this is a team with a great quarterback, and it's sad to see that potential go to waste. And what this quarterback needs most is help on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm going to go with a guy I think can step right in from a big college in Jalen Walker. I'm going to take him over Mike Green, not because Mike Green has less potential, but just because I'm more confident in his ability to step in day one and give Joe Burrow some help.
Yeah, and again, if they lose Trey Hendrickson, they need this off the edge. A super talented guy in Jalen Walker can be that elite pass rusher to replace Hendrickson. I'll be picking here at number 18 with the Seahawks, a team that could use a lot of different things on this team in general. They could use edge help. They honestly could go out and add a receiver. Now they have kind of shored up the receiver position better with the addition of Cooper Kupp. And then, of course, Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's been very good in his time in the NFL. And it's going to be interesting because this team has changed its dynamic completely with Darnold and a completely different receiver core. They've kind of spoke about what they want to do with Clint Kubiak as the offensive coordinator on this team. And so I think that they're going to stray away from the offensive side and go add some help on the defensive side. There's some edge rushers here that can definitely boost this team up. And I'm going to go with James Pierce here. Going to stop the fall of James Pierce. Going to have him going number 18 to the Seahawks. And again, they can use some edge help. And again, they really honestly can use a lot of things. Again, they could go offensive line, but again, just improve that defense. And again, they want to compete. They were a good football team last year, and they changed things up, but I still think they can compete in this upcoming season.
I have pick 19 here with the Buccaneers. And we are really happy to see James Pierce Jr. go ahead of this dude because we are going to go old school. We're going to take Mike Green, going back to, I believe, our first mock draft. Take Mike Green, super happy. Off the field issues, question mark around those right now, but he's a talented player. Talent speaks for itself. The stat speaks for itself. Men lie, women lie, stats don't.
Yeah, and again, a guy that has been an athlete. Of course, you look at the stats. This is the guy that really backed up his talk with his production. The production was obviously there, led the nation in sacks. And again, Mike Green, the issues off the field, these are stemming from his time in high school into his early year of college where he transferred out of Virginia due to some things. And again, he keeps saying that these issues have already been resolved and there's nothing to really come out of those things. And I hadn't seen a lot about it up until this point. And I don't know what the real concern is here because it's two different types of issues with a James Pearson and Mike Green. I mean, the Mike Green thing is more serious off the field type concerns that I really don't know if there's an issue there or not. It's been really under talked about, to be honest. And then James Pierce is more the coaching thing and just trying to figure out if he can fit in the system or not because he seems to be a guy that might be a little bit uncoachable. So again, back-to-back guys that have some maybe off the field issues, but the talent and the production are definitely there for the both of them.
I'm going to pick right back up here with pick number 20. I'm going to be drafting for my favorite team, the Broncos, and we have been absolutely going off. I'm very excited for next year after what we've added in free agency and with our young quarterback. This pick, I'm going to go ahead and add Luther Burden. We have a deep threat. We need us a slot guy. We've already added Ingram, so we're not going to take Loveland anymore for any of y'all watching that missed that pickup. So we're going to go receiver here, take Burden.
Yeah, and I love Luther Burden there. Again, this is a guy that there's some rumors he might fall. And if he falls, man, somebody's getting a steal. Again, I just think he has way too much talent to fall. He is a very, very good slot receiver, and he's not held into that position. He can move to the outside and play some there. I prefer him in that slot position, again, with the way kind of route runner he is. But again, he's tested well in the things that he has done, and I assume his pro day will only make him look better. So again, Luther Burden, great pick there at 20.
I'm picking her at 21, and this is the fall of Shedeur Sanders. This is not, most people are not predicting this to happen, but it could happen. I mean, it's an obvious pick for the Steelers. I mean, like, they need a quarterback.
Yeah, and again, Shedeur Sanders, a guy that had that ability in college to be a star at times. He was very, very good. His first year at Colorado was not good at all. Honestly, it wasn't. They were a team that come in. People had a lot of hype behind them, thought that they could be very good. Then they go 4-8. And you look at it on paper and you say, well, it's not really his fault because, again, he wasn't the problem at all. They had one of the worst offensive lines in the entire country. They repeated that in the next season, but just had more success with a bad offensive line with only the addition of the star left tackle coming in, the freshman. And again, these issues, they hopefully won't come up again in the NFL, but a team like the Steelers have had some issues with the offensive line. So it's interesting when he comes in here, can he maybe deal with that because he's already dealt with such poor offensive line play and maybe succeed? And a lot of the issues with Shedeur and why I think he can drop in the draft, again, experimenting with that today because we haven't had that happen. And again, I just think it's possible for sure. The issues are he runs into sacks. So he already was playing behind a bad offensive line, but then he would hold the ball for too long. And he would put himself in situations where he would end up, on the ground. And that is where a guy gets hurt. So it just scares you off of him a little bit. But again, the floor is extremely high with Shedeur. And again, maybe a team like the Steelers who are built to succeed everywhere else, because, I mean, look at the receiving core and maybe what they'll do for the running back position. You bring Shedeur in, that's comfortable to drop him in with that kind of receiving core. And then a great coach in Mike Tomlin. I'll be picking here at 22 with the Chargers. And again, we've made this pick before. It is a Michigan guy, and it just does make a lot of sense for an offense that definitely needs a tight end. They just need weapons in general to help out a quarterback in Justin Herbert, who's extremely talented. You go out, you grab Colston Loveland, a guy that won a championship with the head coach of the Chargers. And it just makes way too much sense for him to end up here, especially with him falling past those Broncos now because they got Evan Ingram in their tight end. I love this pick for the Chargers. At 23, I'll be picking. And again, the Packers is a team that they can use receiver help. They can use corner. To me, that's the two biggest needs. I see a guy in Will Johnson who we've had go way high up in drafts, falling to me at 23, I'm taking Will Johnson. Again, he's my outside lockdown corner. He has all the ability in the world. Again, some of the things don't measure out well. He didn't have the longest arms, which was kind of the thing that they thought he had. So maybe it isn't as great of a pick. But again, I just love Will Johnson's ability, and he showed that in those games he played in, he's a ball hawk that can make plays on the defensive side. Again, just a good pick here at 23 for the Packers.
Here at 24th, the Vikings, I think they were ecstatic to see Malachi Starks. I think it might be the furthest that we've let him fall. They need a safety. Harrison Smith is getting old, really old. And getting a guy like Malachi Starks, who was a playmaker at UGA, don't think he had as great of a year this year as he did the previous year, but he is a great player. And they would be happy. They would be ecstatic to get a guy like Malachi Starks here.
Yeah, and again, Malachi Starks, like you said, did he produce at the highest level? No. But again, he covered up a lot of his, inability to make plays sometimes with his ability to do other things. And again, he's shown success, great success in his past. And of course, the combine for him was a good performance. He did what he was supposed to do. And we could see him slide in this draft for sure. Safety's just a position that doesn't get drafted like it used to. And again, there's another safety we've talked about many times that could end up going before him now because of his combine. But it'd be interesting to see what happens. I like Malachi Starks there at 24.
I have picked 25 here with the Texans, and I think they need to address the offensive line so they can keep C.J. Stroud healthy. He's going to be their franchise quarterback. He might have not done as good as he did his rookie year, but I still think there's a lot of potential with him. And, I'm going to pick Tyler Booker from Alabama, old side.
Yep, offensive guard. It is a big time issue on this team. We've seen them trade away their best offensive lineman this offseason. To me, that sounds counterproductive because you just had a quarterback who fell off due to offensive line play. In my personal opinion, I think that he was making the plays. A lot of times, offensive line wasn't allowing him to do so. Again, I am worried for this Texans team. Hey, doesn't make me too sad. Again, I don't like the Texans, but that is not good for C.J. Stroud to lose his best tackle, who's arguably one of the best pass-blocking left tackles in football. But you do go get guard help with Tyler Booker, big-time addition, and he is very easily considered the best true guard in this class, like the pick for the Texans there at 25. I'll be picking here at 26 with the Rams. Again, a team that has success, has a great quarterback, and again, a team that just got rid of Cooper Kupp, which was, that was going to be a decision that we didn't really know what was going to come of that. They go out and add Davante Adams. So again, they replace a really good receiver with a guy that has produced better in recent years. I like Davante Adams a lot for this team. They could go look at some of these tight ends. There's a couple intriguing ones. But in my opinion, they go tackle. They protect their quarterback towards the end of his career. And again, Josh Simmons, a guy that we've had go way higher at times. Hoppy's favorite guy in the draft. Loves Josh Simmons. He goes here 26 to the Rams. Perfect pick to protect Stafford. Picking again at 27 with the Ravens. They need edge help and they need safety. I think they can go Nick Emmanwori, but I've gone that route a couple times. So I'm going to change it up. Go edge rusher here. And the obvious edge rusher at the top of the board would be a guy like Donovan Ezaraku, who I could see going here. But I'm actually going to go with Nick Skirton from Texas A&M. Again, a guy that has performed, definitely had a better season before he transferred into A&M, but I just expect the ability to be there. I think he's a guy that definitely very easily can go in the first round. And then that opens up the pick here at 28 for the Lions. Going back to back to back, the Lions go edge rusher. I think they're very happy about getting Donovan Ezaraku. Again, a guy that the production scale is very high. 17 sacks in college, second in the nation behind only Mike Green, performed at a very, very high level. And the Lions get that edge rusher opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, who can now get after the quarterback. When Hutchinson's healthy again, he looked like one of the best defensive players in the country. You bring both edges now to get after the quarterbacks, shores up that Lions defense, which is already pretty solid.
Now, I have 29 with the Commanders here. One of my least favorite teams. I honestly don't dislike them that bad to be a divisional rival, but I'm not the biggest fan at the same time. I think they need to beef up their offensive line, and I have them going Josh Connerly Jr. out of Oregon. I think he's a big-time player. Had a pretty solid combine, if I'm not mistaken, and I think he can fill in that hole. I think he'd be a great offensive lineman here.
Yeah, and again, Josh Connerly, a guy that we've seen fall to the Chiefs, which I think they would be very upset if he got picked this right before them, because I think that's the guy they're kind of going for in that range. And again, Josh Connerly, a guy that did have a good combine, like you said, and can be a tackle on the other side, opposite of course, the big-time addition that they traded for. So, again, this offensive line strengthens up for a team that was already pretty good. Jaden Daniels getting some pretty good pieces to maybe make another run deep in the playoffs next season.
I agree with that, and I'll be taking pick number 30 with the Buffalo Bills. And as we've said before, this team needs receiver help. They've tried to get receiver help for years, and just none of them have panned out yet. I'm gonna go down the board, pass up on the Ohio State guy, and take Matthew Golden here. I liked his combine numbers. He's got the speed. Let's just see if it translates to the pro game.
Yeah, and this is perfect. Again, you just signed Josh Palmer in free agency. That's your one side on the outside. You've got Khalil Shakir, who performed very well in the slot this season. Now you get Matthew Golden. Now, Lynn, that allows you to work in Keon Coleman at different positions. He struggled a little bit at times. He has shown flashes, and he did play really, really good in college. And again, Keon Coleman struggled with injury. So this just allows you to do different things with your receivers. Again, Josh Allen played with a receiver room that consisted of Mac Hollins as one of his star receivers last year. So this is a instant upgrade to that. Again, adding Palmer, adding Golden, maybe that's enough. Maybe it pushes them over the edge to take down their big time rival in the Chiefs.
I'll going off that. I've picked 31 with the Chiefs, and I'm gonna pick Grays from Dakota State because they just traded Joe Thuney, and I think that he'll move down to guard once he goes pro.
Yeah, and again, Gray's able, a guy that performed super well at the Senior Bowl, was the offensive lineman that week that was highly talked about from pretty much everybody, all the scouts that were there. And again, I think he's definitely boosted himself into that first round, even though he isn't going to be playing any tackle in the NFL. He definitely ran reps at center and guard at the Senior Bowl. And I think the Chiefs are just super excited to get a guy that can be a very, very good offensive guard to shore up that offensive line that was clearly the issue with that team going into that Super Bowl game. Here at 32 with the Eagles, a team that really doesn't need a lot. Again, we just saw they won a Super Bowl, but they did lose some pieces. And one of those big-time pieces they lost was on the interior of the defensive line and Milton Williams. I go out and I get Derek Harmon at 32, and I'm psyched if I'm the Eagles. We've seen the D lineman drop in this certain draft that we've done. And again, Derek Harmon is clearly a first-round talent. They steal him at 32, and it just feels like the Eagles, literally every single draft we've done, gets an unbelievable talent at 32 because this draft from pick 15 to pick 60 is a lot of, back end first round, second round talents. It's actually a decently deep draft once you get past the blue chips. There just isn't as many blue chip prospects this year. And so that'll wrap up our first round, and we'll lead right into the second. Kicking off the second round here, I'll be making the first pick at 33. And we're going to see our first quarterback of the second round immediately, a guy in Jackson Dart who has a lot of ability. Again, we saw him when he was at Ole Miss. He performed at a very high level. They've had a very good offense, something that Lane Kiffin is known for. And Jackson Dart played into that. He was very good at times, but he also had mistakes and issues. And that's the reason he's not a first-round quarterback. But again, in the second round, I think you take the chance with him. He probably can get the starting job because we're not going to see Deshaun Watson play football this year. He tore his Achilles again. And if they go out and add quarterback depth, they could start him for a couple weeks maybe and then let Dart take over as the guy. But this is a team, maybe he comes in and plays immediately. They do need to address some things on the offensive side for that to happen. Again, I think they need to shore up the offensive line so he doesn't get killed in his first season there. But I like the pick for the Browns, take the opportunity with the second round quarterback.
34 here with the Giants. Hate that. That's who I wanted to pick. So I guess we're going to have to pivot. Love to have Jackson Dart, but I do think he kind of fits the Browns. Just looks like a Brown, honestly. I'm going to go Arante Ursary to beef up our offensive line. Obviously, Evan Neal's been a failure. I mean, he just hasn't panned out at all. I hate to see it as an Alabama fan. But, getting a guy like that, you can shift him to guard. I mean, but I think we shift Evan Neal to guard. I mean, I'd be fine with experimenting with that. Hate to not get Dart here, but we're going to act like we got Aaron Rodgers in free agency. So speaking with confidence there, we don't need Jackson Dart.
Yeah. And again, Ariante Ursary, a guy that is very, very solid. He was actually in our first mock draft in the first round because originally he was pretty hyped up to shift down and play some guard. And again, he can come in and play tackle, for this Giants team that definitely needs the line help. And like you said, maybe something happens. Maybe they do find Neal's ability to play the tackle and Ursary can play the guard. Either way, it definitely is a help for the offensive line and protecting a quarterback. If it is Rodgers, who's an older guy, you definitely want to keep him healthy as he's faced some injuries, big-time injuries, of course, here in recent years. With the Titans at 35, again, this is a position where we went quarterback in the first round, and this is going to sound like a weird pick, but it's a Titans team that needs receiver help. You go get his guy. You go get his boy, and Xavier Restrepo was one of the best slot receivers in college football. If you watch Cam Ward highlights, you're watching Xavier Restrepo highlights because he is that kind of player. He was a big-time player there. He is the all-time leader in receiving yards at the University of Miami, which is one of the most prestigious universities in the ACC. And again, a guy that just succeeded at all times. And he doesn't flash. He's not going to show you this unbelievable speed. He's not going to show you this unbelievable size, but he just makes plays. To me, he reminds me of Cooper Kupp, a guy that never flashed insane speed. He never flashed this crazy ability, but he always was there. And for me, you get the guy he's comfortable with. Titans haven't added receiver help at all in free agency. Slot him in at the slot position beside Calvin Ridley, and maybe you're looking at a decent offense for next season. Picking here at 36 with the Jaguars, as you see the Titans pass up on Emeka Egbuka, he slides to the Jaguars, which I would hate. But again, I think you draft Restrepo in this situation to give him to the quarterback that he's played with in college, who's very comfortable playing with. And the Jags are happy with that. Emeka Egbuka, again, a guy that had a first-round grade in a lot of drafts, and he's starting to fall just a little bit. And a lot of it isn't really his fault. It's just other guys performing at the combine and doing things that kind of separated themselves from him. And there's even potential a guy like Luther Burden falls here too, which is crazy because those guys were talked about very highly. And we've just seen him drop a little bit. I think the Jags would be psyched to get him to replace Christian Kirk in that offense.
I'm picking here at 37 with the Raiders, and I'm going to go with Will Howard because they just got Chip Kelly, and I think he's going to pull one here in the second round and get his quarterback, who showed
Yes.
flashes in the playoffs.
Yeah, and again, a guy in Will Howard whose combine may have been one of the worst we've seen, but I think that Chip Kelly wants to go get his guy. I think it's part of it, man, and the continuity with the offense that he's going to want to run. Will Howard knows that offense, and you are setting up Will Howard with very good weapons. He's coming in and playing with what can be the best tight end in the NFL for the next 10 years. And early in the draft, you got Ashton Jeanty. So you're just setting him up with weapons early on, and maybe that can help him out a lot and get him going because, again, the combine was poor. But he wasn't with his guy, and so now he gets back with his guy in Kelly for the Raiders.
Yeah, and going on with the next pick, I'm taking number 38 here with the Patriots. And I'm going to go ahead and get a running back for them. I like Ramondre Stevenson. I don't want them to just completely throw him in the trash can. But I'm going to take a guy in Trayvon Henderson. I think he can play alongside of Stevenson. He played alongside Judkins in college, so that shows right there he can still get his production, be like a Jaylen Warren, Achane type guy, come in there on third downs, all the pass plays, and still run the ball some too.
Yeah, a phenomenal pass catcher. That is one of TreVeyon Henderson's best traits. Also, with the ball in his hand, he is extremely deadly. If he gets outside, he can make big-time plays. We saw him do that in the playoffs a lot. Actually, in my personal opinion, TreVeyon Henderson performed at a better level than Judkins in the playoffs. Henderson had the big-time touchdown in the Oregon game that really blew that game wide open, and he was constantly making plays, and that team was obviously loaded. But now he comes into an offense with the Patriots who can use that receiving back because that's not Ramondre's ability. You know, he's more of that power back, running the ball on first and second down or maybe on short yardage situations. Perfect guy to grab for the Patriots at 38. With the Bears here at 39. Again, this team went and added running back help at 10, which is a little bit different because they might need some offensive line help. They might need some defensive line help. Here, I'm going to go and look at the interior defensive line. Again, we talked about how these guys have fallen in this specific draft. I love a guy like Walter Nolan in the second round at pick 39. The Bears will pick again here very shortly. So they go ahead and add one defensive lineman here and can look at the other positions at pick 41 in just a second.
I have pick 40 here with the Saints, and I'm going to go with Landon Jackson from Arkansas. I think this would be a great fit for them. And Cam Jordan's getting old, and they need somebody to run the edge for them. You know, he's done it for a while, but, you know, like I said, he's getting old.
Yeah, he isn't going to last forever. That's 100% right. He's getting old, and he's getting paid a lot of money. So you do want to replace him at some point. Landon Jackson, another one of those combine heroes that we talked about earlier in the draft with a guy like Shamar Stewart. And I love this pick for them. Again, they get edge help. They already need edge help, but then he can be the replacement for when a guy like Cam Jordan finally hangs it up. And then at 41 here with the Bears, again, they added defensive help the pick before. I think they do it again here. And this is the spot where I'm grabbing the combine hero in Nick Emenwari, a safety from South Carolina that can easily shift down and play linebacker if you need him to. But again, I love him sticking at safety. With the speed he was running at, he's 6'3". It's just a different breed of safety. Those guys don't really exist. What he put on at that combine, it tells me, wow, the ability is at an all-time high with Nick Emenwari. And for me, this Bears draft so far is phenomenal, getting defensive help and, of course, the running back in the first round.
Yeah, I'll be taking pick number 42 here with the Jets. I went Tedoroa McMillan with them for my first pick, so I'm going to look to sure up the other side of the ball here, and I'm going to take Darius Alexander. If you look at PFF, they had him ranked way higher than everyone else left. I'll let Jacob tell you his opinion on him now, though.
Yeah, and Darius Alexander is one of those super talented guys from Toledo. It's pretty cool that last year we had a super talented guy from Toledo and Quinyon Mitchell who made big time plays in the Super Bowl. Darius Alexander is the kind of guy that can do that in the NFL. He was phenomenal, and at the combine, he's an athletic freak for the interior defensive lineman position. And again, I think he's a guy that could go with the first round. I've seen him mocked to the Chiefs a couple times and the Commanders at 29. But he's a great interior defensive lineman. I think the Jets would be really happy to get him at 42.
Yeah, pick 43 here with the 49ers. I'm going to have them take Trey Amos. He's played great this year for Ole Miss. One of a lockdown DB. I mean, this 49ers defense and offense is just going under like a whole revolution. It's like a coup d'etat over there. I mean, so adding a stud like Trey Amos, I mean, I think that would be big for their DB, reshaping that room for them.
Yeah, and again, that's a position that they definitely need a little bit of help with. We just saw them lose safety help when they lost, one of their depth safeties from last season. But also, they could end up going corner in a lot of different corners. Honestly, it's pick and choose here. Because
Yep.
again, we've talked about Savon Ravel here. Maxwell Harrison was the combine guy that really performed and ran that super fast 40. So it's a fun grouping of cornerbacks around this area of the draft. And again, that's why I say that I think these picks between again, the second round in general is a lot of talented players. Yeah, and I like Trey Amos there to the Niners at 43.
I'll be taking once again here with number 44 for the Dallas Cowboys. And this is a team that just picked up my favorite team's old running back in Javonte Williams. And I'm going to go ahead and pick up Judkins right after that. Javonte has had his time in the NFL. We need someone in there to compete with him.
Yeah, I like the pick of Judkins. Again, a guy that performed well at the combine in the certain things that he did. He didn't go out there and run as well as like maybe some of the better running backs did at the top of the board. But for his size, man, to run in the 4.4s is ridiculous. So it doesn't really matter if you're getting that 4.3 area. Again, he's a big running back. He's going to be more of a power guy that has the ability. He can catch a pass, but I would prefer him to be in the more power back way of things. And again, Javonte can catch passes. So maybe they work together and they create a dynamic duo at running back. But yeah, I love Judkins. He's very talented and makes a lot of sense at 44.
I'm here at pick 45 with the Colts, and I'm going to go with tight end because that's what they really need. And I'm going to go with Mason Taylor and get a guy who can block for Jonathan Taylor.
Yes, yeah, the Taylor and Taylor combo. I love doing that here. And again, that was one of my favorite tight end prospects after watching the combine. He was very successful in the majority of combine drills. He has very, very good hands, which is obviously important at the tight end position because that's your quarterback's check down. And it makes things easier on a quarterback if your tight end is extremely talented. I mean, look at the success when a guy comes in and has a super talented tight end. It usually helps him out a lot. Just for me personally, watching the Titans, when they drafted Mariota, Delaney Walker was our leading receiver for 2 straight seasons at the tight end position, and that definitely helped Mariota step into his role as a quarterback. We've seen Patrick Mahomes do that with Travis Kelce. So obviously, tight end is a very big time help, and this is your make or break year for Anthony Richardson. So go out and get a weapon in Mason Taylor that can help him out on offense.
Here at 46 with the Falcons, I am personally going to take Savon Ravel from ECU. He's a guy I'm super high on personally. He was higher in the draft, but he suffered an injury mid to late through the season, and that there's a question mark about his health. But the talent is indisputable. He's an amazing talent, amazing athlete. I believe I took him with the Commanders pick or the Ravens pick in one of our earlier mock drafts in the first round. So he's a guy that could honestly go that high, in my opinion. I think he has a talent. I think he might have a first round grade if you look back after his rookie year. And I think the Falcons would be super happy to have him here, pairing up alongside AJ Terrell.
Yeah, and again, the talent is definitely there. The injury is the only thing that scares you off of him. And this was more of a serious injury. We've talked about, like a Josh Simmons that he dropped because of injury, but his is less serious, can come back faster. We don't know how it's going to change Savon Ravel and the way he plays. If he loses his speed, which is probably his biggest trait, then of course the injury drops him. But again, you're taking the risk. The Titans did this a few years ago when they drafted Caleb Farley, a guy that had unbelievable speed and was absolutely dominant at Virginia Tech in college. Loved watching that guy play football for us. He had the issues. They continued to come back over and over and over. He tears his ACL after finally getting healthy, and it's just like, well, that's it. That's just a guy that was injury prone and just never made it in the NFL. So again, Savon Ravel, if he makes it, the talent is awesome, and you love that at 46 especially. At 47 here with the Cardinals, again, a team that we've seen go defensive lineman early in the draft, which a lot of the time we go offensive lineman, and I think that makes their second round pick easily offensive lineman. You got to get help in there. You got to protect your quarterback. And I really like what Donovan Jackson proved he could do towards the end of the season for Ohio State. Again, a guy that shifted from guard to tackle and may be the superhero of that team. He may be the guy you look back at and you say, man, Donovan Jackson was the game changer on that offensive line because he was great in the playoff. If you remember any of the games he was playing in, he didn't look like a guard. He looked like he had been at tackle his whole career. And I think that that's going to be the position in the NFL for him now. With that success, you go out and get a guy to protect your guy in Kyler Murray, but also what can he do if he needs to? Shift down and play guard. What he was really good at Ohio State. He's just a very good lineman because he can come in and do either or, which is obviously important in the NFL. Flexibility is great. I'll be picking here at 48 with the Dolphins, a team that we just saw lose their best safety in Javon Holland. As we mentioned earlier, Joe, you're pretty excited about that addition. Great football player, and they need to replace that position. And they go out and obviously get a cheaper option in a second-round pick in Xavier Watts, a safety from Notre Dame that is a big-time playmaker. Very good. This is a guy we could see go in the first if somehow the safeties get pushed up the board. Again, safety isn't a position that gets drafted very high in the NFL, kind of like running back on the other side on offense. So I don't expect him to end up in the first round. But again, the guy's talent is definitely a first-round level talent. So you love getting him here at 48 to replace Holland.
I'll be taking number 49 here with the Cincinnati Bengals. And like I said the first time I drafted with them, this team needs some serious defensive help. So it's just a matter of deciding which defensive player you're going to go with. Out of all these names left, I see a name standing out, and it's Princely Umanmielen. I think this guy can play at the NFL level. I'll let Max tell you a little more about him as well.
Yeah, and again, the talent is super high. Again, Princely Umanmielen, he has a brother that's going to end up at Ole Miss as well, which is pretty interesting. So that's coming soon. Probably going to see him in the league. But Princely is awesome. This defensive line was really, really good at Ole Miss. They had very good interior defensive linemen, and now they had both edges that we see one later on in the draft that will end up getting picked as well, coming out of this line, Jared Ivey. So again, the production is awesome, and Umanmielen's a guy that is a very big defensive lineman. So we maybe could see him play some, inside position and maybe shift in and rush the passer from there. But again, his best role was coming off the edge. And now they add depth on both ends. So if Hendrickson's gone, they can still get after the quarterback with their draft picks. So I love that for the Bengals. At 50 with the Seahawks, again, this is a team that they need help at the offensive line position, but they swear upon it that they're not going to take a guard. They'll never take a guard. So I'm going to take a tackle that's going to move to guard and Jonas Savaiinaea. And again, the Arizona tackle is surely a guard in the NFL. He's a very good offensive guard prospect that, again, listed at tackle, which makes a whole lot more sense for the Seahawks because that's what they love to do. He shifts down at guard, fixes that position for them. And again, they got to protect their new big-time addition in Sam Darnold. So Savaiinaea is the perfect guy to do that.
Yeah, I'll be picking number 51 here with the Denver Broncos, and we need a running back very bad. And this is a running back, I think, just because of the situation, can come in day one and be the head of this locker room. We're talking about the fifth running back being picked. And year one, he's going to have more opportunities than some of these other guys that are going into locker rooms. You look at Hampton, the second running back picked. He's going to the Bears. They already have Swift. Of course, Hampton's going to be the long-term option, but I think Caleb Johnson can come in and be our number one year one, and we really need him to.
Yeah, and again, they've had issues at running back. We saw some positives out of Audric Estime last year. Again, he was awesome at Notre Dame, but he was that big bruising running back. Now you get Caleb Johnson, who at Iowa last season, if it wasn't for Ashton Jeanty, Caleb Johnson would have been covered like Jeanty was. He was that good statistically. Again, up there with Marion. Produced really well. He's also still younger, junior, so is Jeanty, and that helps a lot too. I mean, you get a guy that comes in that's not going to have as many carries on him, and that's obviously something that running backs eventually they start falling apart due to the carries that they get. It's just a position where you get beat up all the time. So you get Caleb Johnson again coming off his best season of his career, and again, you're right. This is a guy that can play from day one because Estime did face injuries quickly, and Jaleel McLaughlin is not an every down back at all for the Broncos. At 52 with the Seahawks, again, I've went both sides of the ball here. got them help, and I think that this is just a perfect receiver spot. You got, Cooper Kupp, again, phenomenal player. Again, I think he still has a lot of potential. And then you have Jackson Smith and Jigba. Now you go grab the big outside receiver in Jaden Higgins, 6'4", had a freakishly good combine. Just Iowa State in general had an awesome combine. Everybody that was there performed at a very high level. Jaden Higgins, again, top of that list. And they go out and get a big time receiver who they, of course, traded DK and replaced him with Jaden Higgins.
Yeah, here at 53, you see it's one of their needs, linebacker. Buccaneers, we took Mike Green in the first round, looking for a good edge help off the side on the defensive side. So I'm going to go take Demetrius Knight here from USC, South Carolina. Good player, and I will allow Jacob Maggard to go fill you in on some more info about him.
Yes, and Demetrius Knight. This is a guy that whenever I did my combine review, I've watched every day of the combine, and this is a guy that stood out to me. He was very, very good in his drills. He moved well on the field. He was also a big-time playmaker at South Carolina, a guy that led them in tackles. And again, a very important piece of a defense that ended up being very, very good in the SEC. And again, this is a guy that can come in and immediately be that backup to the two stud linebackers that they have. But also, if we face injury, anything like that happens, and again, these guys are older. So he can immediately fill that hole in the future. And again, he's going to be getting paid second round money, which is big time when your linebacker can be that good and be getting paid second round money. Love that pick for the Buccaneers at 53. And then here at 54, again, a team that we've went different directions with at times. I ended up going Will Johnson in the first round. This is a spot that I wouldn't mind to go with a corner, but I'm going to end up going receiver here. And they said, this is not even the media. This is a player on the team. Straight up said, we don't have an X receiver. We don't have a guy that we can go to constantly. So in this draft, I go out and get an X receiver and Savion Williams, a guy that who knows what he can be. He is 6'5", 230 pounds. It's an absolute freak of a receiver. He did well at the combine. And again, this is a guy that who knows what he's going to end up doing. He could play in a wildcat formation because at TCU, that's what he did. He come on the field and just did whatever they needed him to do. He has the ability to do that in the NFL. We'll see if he becomes that X receiver on the outside or if he ends up being that halfback, H-back type guy that runs plays in the backfield, lines up in the slot, lines up outside, and just does whatever the team wants him to do. I love that. Jordan Love just gets another really good weapon for his team. Then again, a 55 here with the Chargers, another team that they're looking for offensive help. We've seen them add a tight end, of course, a Michigan guy, and I think they go receiver as well. And again, this draft is full of receivers that I think have a lot of upside. And I'm going to go with an outside receiver this time in Trey Harris, a guy that dominated at Ole Miss until he got injured. He led the league in receiving in college football for 3 weeks post-injury. He was that far ahead of the rest of the receivers. He was phenomenal, was almost at 1,000 yards in like 6 games. And of course, that offense, very, very high-powered, very prolific passing offense, so that helped him out a little bit. But again, he's a 6'3" receiver. He comes in and can be the outside receiver. Let Ladd McConkey run those slot routes where he was really, really good last year. And now we're building a pretty nice offense for Justin Herbert to run.
I'm going to be taking number 56 here with the Bills. I already added a receiver in the first round, and I'm looking at the team needs. I have another pick in this second round here. I would like to add a cornerback and a linebacker. I'm going to go ahead and get Maxwell Hairston right now with this pick and hope that the linebacker that I want is still there when I pick again.
Yeah, and Maxwell Hairston, again, we talked about Combine Heroes, another one that really performed very well at the Combine, running that 4.28, had a very good 10-yard split, which, again, the long speed is important for the cornerback position. You look at maybe a lineman's 10-yard split, and it's more important because when's a lineman running 40 yards? His 10-yard split's awesome, which means he can accelerate off the ball very well, and his 40-yard speed is the best in the Combine. This is a guy that can really help himself out. He is smaller. That's the one, the one thing at him is he's a 5'10" corner, which it definitely doesn't help to be that small. But again, he was very good at Kentucky. He was the guy on the outside for them. So you just add a guy that can maybe help you beat Patrick Mahomes, get over that hump that you just haven't been able to get over since you started playing him in the playoffs.
Here at 57 with the Panthers, we went with Jahdae Barron in the first to get some DB help, and we are going to continue to hammer that defensive side of the ball. And we're going to go down the board a little bit and go to somebody who was a playoff hero in Jack Sawyer. I think he's a stud. He has an attitude that's very kind of polarizing. Some people love how much he wants to win. Some people, especially after the Michigan game incident, didn't really like him that much. But he had a big play versus Texas, I believe, with a strip sack and taking it back all the way for the touchdown. Talented player. I think he's got a lot of potential as well. was a major factor on that Ohio State defense. And I think he brings a lot to Carolina.
Yeah, and again, this is a team that has to add edge help. Of course, trading their best edge rusher to you guys last season in the
Yep.
Giants. So, again, Jack Sawyer, a guy that has dropped down the boards for us. And a lot of that is because the combine performance was poor at times. But again, the mentality, the want to win is something that gets players drafted. And he made big time plays when it mattered most. This is a guy that literally produced one of the all-time plays in Ohio State football history that will go down as either the best play ever because they won or the second best play. Of course, we know when Zeke did what he did. But
Yeah.
again, this play will be remembered like that one. So yes, Jack Sawyer, great pick here at 57.
I'm picking here at 58 with the Texans, and I'm going to go with Tez Johnson from Oregon. And Maggard, I'll let you talk more about him.
Yeah, and again, this is the guy that comes in and fills that slot need next season for the Texans. And we've addressed other positions to help them out in the future. Tank Dell is going to be out all year. Serious injury to his knee, tore everything you can tear in your knee. And that could change his career, which is very unfortunate for the Texans because Tank Dell, again, a fan favorite, a guy that I like even as a Titans fan. He was really fun to pull for. And that's just a scary injury. So you get Tez Johnson, who, if he had done well at the combine, he probably could go high in the draft. Very, very bad performance, truthfully, at the combine. But again, the guy that you're picking off production and ability, he is going to run a faster 40 at his pro day, I think. He'll be better prepared for it. And so Tez Johnson comes in and fills that need at the slot receiver position for the Texans. At 59 for the Baltimore Ravens, a team that added edge rusher help in the first, so they can go a multitude of ways here. I've seen this team take safety. Again, I love Nickem and Worry to them. And I also think that with the loss of some cornerback depth, they can end up going cornerback here. They lost one of their corners in free agency. And again, it's a guy that I've seen some Ravens fans say that they didn't care to lose anyways. So I'm going to go out and get Darian Porter, a guy that performed unbelievably at the combine. Again, just an awesome performance. Like I said, the Iowa State guys, they all did very, very well for themselves. He was running the 4.3s, and he is a big corner, lockdown corner on the outside. You put him separate of Marlon Humphrey, and look at that. Boom. You're repairing a defense immediately. I love this pick at 59 for the Baltimore Ravens. At number 60 with the Detroit Lions, again, a team that I added edge help in the first. I think that's their biggest key need, but I love to go down the board a little bit here and grab a linebacker. And Hoppy, I believe I'm still in the guy you probably wanted down there at 62. It's Carson Schlesinger. This is a linebacker that he didn't perform at the combine. He did something to I can't remember if it was a back injury, hamstring injury, something like that. So he dropped out of doing anything else at the combine. But in the drills that he performed in, he looked like the kind of guy that is going to be an elite linebacker in the NFL. He was UCLA's key piece of their defense last season. He's one of the better linebackers in this draft class. And when you're talking about true linebackers that can stick and play at that position, you could argue him as the second best behind Jahad Campbell. Of course, in this situation, we have him going third off the board behind Demetrius Knight. But I love Carson Schlesinger. A great pick here for the Lions at 60.
Yeah, here at 61 with the Commanders, they made a big trade this offseason for Deebo Samuel to help, give McLaurin some help that he's been desperately needing. And I think they're still going to hammer that receiving side of the ball, just maybe not the receiver. I'm going to go to tight end, and I'm going to take Harold Fannin Jr. out of Bowling Green. There are some question marks, especially about his speed and athleticism, but the production is there. In college, I believe he had 1,500 yards, 15 touchdowns, and he played great against big-time teams like Texas A&M. We mentioned it in one of our previous videos. Bowling Green played two really close games with Texas A&M and Penn State. If I'm not mistaken, he had 120 yards and 2 touchdowns at least versus both of them. So, I mean, he's a big-time player and made big-time plays in these big-time games. Combine questions, but the production is just all there.
Yeah, and again, we talked about production compared to combine results and what will boost up a guy. His production carries him for sure. The combine, you'd like to see him run faster. He did struggle in the on-field drills. For me, it's a guy that I've dropped down my board. But again, the talent is there for sure. I mean, you don't produce like that in college if you don't have some ability. And this allows him to play behind Zach Ertz, who's towards the end of his career, probably going to retire soon. It's honestly a perfect situation. Zach Ertz can teach him everything he knows about being a very good tight end in the NFL. And of course, that's a 1-year deal for Zach Ertz again. How many more 1-year deals does he get with the Commanders? Love this to help out Jayden Daniels for the future. And if Harold Fannin turns into the kind of guy he was in college, it's an awesome pick at 61.
Yeah, I'll be picking number 62 here with the Bills. I've already picked a receiver and a cornerback. So I'm going to look to get some pressure onto the opposing team's quarterback, and I'm going to take JT Tuimoloau from Ohio State University, looking to come in and make an instant impact on this Bills team that's just a few pieces away from really making that big win.
Yeah, and of course, what do they need to beat Pat Mahomes? They need to get pressure on Pat Mahomes, and they need to get a corner to shut him down in his passing game. You're addressing both of those needs in this draft. Of course, you're hoping both of those guys are hits in this draft. And again, we took the other side of that defense when Joey took Sawyer. Now you're getting Tui Moloel. Again, a very, very good edge rusher, produced in college at a high level. I think the Bills are very excited to getting him here at 62. Again, it's just a winning team. So you bring in winning culture. That's always a good thing to add when you're facing, like I said, the Chiefs, who they end up facing every single year in the playoffs.
I have picked 63 with the Chiefs, and they need an interior guy. With Chris Jones, this guy will be great.
Yeah, and again, he falls here to 63. Again, a guy that, like you said, he could go early. It just depends on how the D linemen fall in this draft. This is a draft where we've had the D linemen fall down the board a little bit, so it would push Tyleek later down the board. And honestly, that's a position they could end up going with in the first round, and then that would they wouldn't end up going there at 63. But I do like that pick a lot for the Chiefs. They address the issue that when Chris Jones does eventually retire too, Tyleek can fill in, but also it's important to have him on the field as well because they don't have anything other than Chris Jones on that defensive line on the interior. And here to wrap it up at 64 with the Eagles, again, the defending champions, a team that they've already added on the interior of their defensive line with the loss of Milton Williams. I'm going to go on the offensive side of the ball. I'm going to add an offensive lineman in Cameron Williams from Texas, wrapping up the second round of this draft, finishing things off here. Again, this Eagles team, they can use some help on in the trenches. And again, they're not dying to go out and draft an offensive lineman, but they have older players at tackle. Lane Johnson getting up there in age, still really, really good at what he is, but again, he's just getting up there in age. And they can use some guard help, honestly. And I'm assuming what I think will happen is Cam Williams comes in, plays guard for them, and then shifts out to tackle when Lane eventually ends up retiring, because that's going to happen soon. Or if for some reason they can't afford to bring back Mailata when his contract comes up here soon. But I love that pick for the Eagles. It definitely shores up the offensive line for the future. Looking at the full draft board, Julio, if you can go and give us who you think was the best picks in this draft.
Okay, I think at pick 11, I think that was a steal that I got there. I think Will Campbell, I really don't think he could drop that low. But, crazier things have happened in the draft. And I also think at pick 24, Joey got a steal. That's a steal right there. Malachi Stark's going 24 with, like you said, Harrison Smith's aging, and you add a guy like him. That helped the Vikings out a lot and save them a lot of money.
Yeah, some of the picks that I saw, I love my pick of Malachi Starks for the reasons that you mentioned as well. Obviously, I think Shedeur going 21 is a steal. Mike Green just seems like a Buccaneer. I don't know what it is about him, but he just seems like that type of guy. And I like the Michael Williams pick for the Falcons. He just seems like the type of guy that they would draft. I don't know what it is. I've talked about it before with some players, but he just seems like a Falcon. I mean, keeping the guy in Georgia close to home. So I think he can be a big playmaker for him.
Yeah, a few things that stood out about this draft to me. I really like the Steelers going out and getting their quarterback at number 21. If he falls there, I think they'll definitely pull that trigger. And not to beat a dead horse or anything, but Josh Simmons, if he goes anywhere after pick number 5 for me, that's a steal. Josh Simmons, he's gonna show everyone why he is the one that should be named Will Campbell in the draft.
I knew when we made that pick, Javi, that was going to be your favorite pick of the draft. I could have told you. If we'd have made that pick at pick number 11 with Will Campbell, and we'd have said Josh Simmons, you'd have said it was the best pick. He's a big Josh Simmons fan. And I do think Josh Simmons at 26 is a very good pick for what he can do, because, again, he's a tackle that would have been picked towards the top of the board if he didn't have the injury. And then, of course, I love, both 30 and 31 with the Chiefs and the Bills. Again, those two rivals fighting with each other. They both address things that they severely need. Again, the Bills looking at adding really good receiver talent and depth. That is what they get in Matthew Golden. And then the Chiefs, the biggest issue they had clearly was their offensive line. They lost what was their best offensive guard on the left side of the line. Of course, they got a great one on the right side. Now you fix that with Gray Zabel. He's also not getting paid near as much money as Thuney was going to make. And then, of course, for me, like you said, Shedeur Sanders at 21. That's kind of the point of this draft. When we went into it, making the picks that we made, is he falls all the way to 21. the Steelers have to pull that trigger. Like Hoppy said, you can put him into that team and plug and play, and he's gonna have the best receivers that he's had, and he had Travis Hunter. And that's crazy that he's going to get more talented at the receiver position because he didn't have anybody outside of Hunter that's as good as DK and George Pickens. And it's just really, really good talent for him to play under. And I think that honestly, in Pittsburgh, that's a place that I think Dion would be okay with him playing. I don't think that's one of those, because the whole rumor is Dion going to be able to control or sway where he ends up going? Pittsburgh's a pretty nice place and it has a very good, rich football history. So it definitely makes a lot of sense for Shedeur to end up there at 21. Also, of course, this being our 2-round mock, looking quickly at the second round, some of the key picks that stand out obviously would be Jackson Dart to the Browns. Again, they addressed that quarterback issue. And I think, again, that's a guy that can go to a lot of these teams if they don't end up going QB in the first, because he can develop behind another quarterback, or he can also come in and play immediately. I think there's potential for either one. Again, I like the receivers that end up going here. Again, if you take Cam Ward in the first, Restrepo makes way too much sense. And Emeka Egbuka, the talent is phenomenal. Again, another pick that I love, Nick Emenwari. I've talked about him again and again. He's a guy that very easily can go in the first round, and he could be the first safety off the board, falling to 41 to the Bears. Big addition. Quinshon Judkins, a pick that Hoppy made. Love that at 44. He becomes the bell cow for the Cowboys. Again, 48, Xavier Watts. Again, a talent that is as good as a first-round grade, in my personal opinion. Falls because of the positional value. Maxwell Harrison at 56 to the Bills. Like I said, combine hero, runs the fastest time, can come in and maybe lock down those receivers like a Xavier Worthy. He might honestly be the perfect, guy to put on Worthy. He's not very big, and Worthy obviously also is not very big. They both run very good times for the positions that they play. So it kind of just seems like the perfect guy to shut down that guy. And then again, at 64, you're adding a guy, depth on the team, and it's just perfect to wrap up the draft for the Eagles as they add talent at 64 with Cam Williams. That'll do it for this week on the video. Of course, we brought in Julio, new guest on the pod for this certain episode. Again, Hoppy, Joey back returning, the guys that you guys are used to. And I want to mention some things that, like, when we come back next week, we're hoping to bring back the whole crew. I'm not 100% sure what the plan will be. We're going to kind of discuss this week. Might have some different things happen because we've kind of done the simple things. We've done the 2-round, the trades. So we might look to get a little bit crazy. Might have a spin the wheel to how we have to make our picks or something. But just get unique, get something different in here, mix it up just a little bit, and maybe do something like that. And we might bring back like a trade mock or something just to change up the flow of things. And other than that, I'll start it off. I'll let Julio, you go ahead and say if you have anything you want to add, go ahead and do so.
Well, this was very fun, guys, and I'll definitely be back next week, and hopefully we have something interesting, and peace.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. Always a pleasure to do this. Glad to be on here. Love seeing the comments, so make sure to like it, comment, subscribe, hit that notification button for new videos. But yeah, thank you guys for watching from the bottom of my heart. Really appreciate this. Love doing this, and hope you all have a great rest of your day/night.
I just want to say thank y'all. Just like Joey said, just echo out his words. Thank y'all for watching, and I hope to see y'all next week as well. Peace.
Yep, everybody, hopefully come back next week. Like and subscribe, follow along. Again, we'll be posting around the same exact time every week, Monday, 7 to 7:30. That's the plan. Also, Dalton will be coming on the channel with me this week. We're going to be doing a bracket breakdown, talking about the college basketball world. Of course, the tournament is coming up this week. We're going to have some big-time games. Obviously, if you like college sports in general, that's the time of the year you're tuning in to college sports. It's honestly the best thing in sports is the March Madness tournament. I can't wait for that to come around. Again, me and Dalton will be doing a bracket breakdown. I'm not 100% sure when that comes out. It could come out Tuesday or Wednesday, probably, just to schedule a little bit different so we don't have 2 videos coming up on the same day. Again, enjoy you guys showing up. Keep returning. Love the viewership. And peace.